Here I am in the Bot Framework Composer tool, and I've created a new project, Tailwind Traders HR Bot-Start. On the left, you have a list of triggers. Triggers are used to respond to external events, such as someone joining the conversation or a message being received. For each trigger, you can actually add actions to your canvas to control what happens when a trigger fires. I get a built-in greeting trigger, which actions already set up for me to send the user a welcome message. I can add more triggers by clicking on Add a New Trigger. I'm going to choose Intent Recognized. Using this trigger, I can specify example phrases, including entities. A user might say to trigger an intent, and Composer will automatically create a Lewis model for me. Once I've created my trigger, I can update any of the trigger phrases in the properties on the right. Now that I have my trigger set up, I can start to add actions to my canvas. To control what happens when it fires, clicking the plus icon shows me the actions available. I'm going to add a basic text prompt to ask the user an open question. Once my prompt is added to the canvas with the bot asks action selected, I can use the property editor to specify what the text for the prompt should be. Here I use LG or language generation syntax to create multiple variants, and the bot will pick one at random each time the prompt is used, making the conversation feel more natural. Now I can switch to the user input tab in Composer and tell it that I want to store the user's answer in a variable for me to use later. To do that, I use the property input and I can type dialog.reason. I can then add another action to my canvas, this time send a response. Here I can use LG again to determine what the response will say, and I can use my reason variable by typing thank you said dialog.reason, using the dollar notation to refer to my reason variable. Now I have a trigger to respond to someone joining the conversation and another to respond to someone asking to book vacation, but I want to handle a situation where someone says something the bot can't handle. For this, I can add a trigger for unknown intent. This lets me send a response to the user to say that I don't know how to handle their request. One more concept to introduce here is the idea of a dialogue. A dialogue gives you the ability to group actions inside your conversation. As an example, I could take the actions I created for my book holiday trigger and group them into a dialogue called book holiday. This means my trigger is now calling my new dialogue, but I can also have this dialogue executed from elsewhere in my bot, making that logic reusable. Once I'm ready, I can click the Start Bot to test my bot. The first time I do this, I need to provide a Lewis authoring key, which I can get from the Azure portal where I create my Azure resource. Once I provide this, Composer will create and publish my Lewis application and start my bot locally for testing, which can test using the Bot Framework emulator. In the emulator, I see my welcome message because the greeting trigger was fired when I started the conversation. I can then type I want to book a holiday. This will fire the intent recognized trigger I added earlier, which in turn calls the book holiday dialog, asking me a question and repeating my answer back to me.